Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Laurie Stern. Join me as I invite experts and friends to discuss a range of topics, from the factual and practical to the mystical and magical. Consider this your virtual happy hour filled with lively, authentic, and meaningful conversations meant to inform, inspire, and ignite your curiosity. Whether you are very real or super woo, this podcast is just for you. Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Laurie Stern, and today I have the privilege of sitting down with Jason Gember, who reached out to me because he wants to talk about himself. So, so that was cool. It's been happening more where I'll get like emails and say, hey, I want to be on your show. And so that was really cool to get that from you. And I'd love you to tell everybody a little bit about you and your craft, because you are a practitioner of Vedic medication. Well, yeah. Is it Vedic or Vedic?
It's Vedic.
That's what I thought. All right. So Vedic meditation, which I know nothing about. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this show, because if I'm curious to learn something, hopefully somebody out there in podcast land is eager to learn as well. So why don't you explain whatever you'd like to, and we'll just go from there.
Thank you so much for having me, Laurie. I appreciate it. And I really enjoyed listening to all your different guests on your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
That's what drew me to your podcast, was just the amount of different guests you have and just learning from each other. And I thought it would be a good fit for me just to come on and talk. So hello to you and hello to your listeners. Again, my name is Jason Gember. I'm a Vedic meditation teacher in the Chicagoland area. How I came to Vedic meditation is actually on a podcast similar to this one. I heard a Vedic meditation teacher talking on a podcast. At the time of my life, I was meddling with, trying different types of meditations out, different mindfulness apps, and different things like that. And what he was talking about on the podcast seemed really interesting and different for me. I've never heard of that. I know nothing about it. And it just resonated with me, just with a curiosity. And so from that point, I just researched Vedic meditation online and learned a little bit more about it. And that took me to Tom Knowles, who later became my teacher. And then that brought me to his website. So at that time, I emailed Tom Knowles' website and asked if there was a Vedic meditation teacher in the Chicagoland area. And then at that point, his staff pointed me in that direction and had one at the time. And that's when I learned Vedic meditation.
How long did that take you to learn that?
The first part, before you actually learn, you do an intro talk. And what I do as a teacher is I go around to different establishments, personal, doing that one-on-one or with groups of people in different businesses. I've done school districts. I just go around and give these talks. And basically, they're informational talks.
About what that modality is.
Yeah, about what Vedic meditation is, how it works, all the specifics about what it takes to learn. And then people can make an educated decision whether that's something for them or not. So that's how it started with me. I did an intro talk with the teacher in Chicago. They gave me all the information about it, more than what was online. It's a little more specific about, more in details of what that involves. And then I decided, wow, that's something. I thought about it a little bit. And then I took the dive of trying it out and going through the 4-day course, because it's a 4-day course that's involved with that.
So a 4-day course in terms of the intro of it?
Well, that's separate. So the intro starts first, and then you can decide if you'd like to take the 4-day course.
Gotcha. All right. So it's like a 4-day training. And then obviously, if it's anything like yoga practice or meditation in general, it's a practice every day. Every time you unroll your mat or unroll your meditation cushion, it's a new experience, correct?
Yes, correct.
So how would you describe the difference then between there's lots of different types of meditation out there, right? So how is yours different than what my listeners or even me might know as the traditional meditation, either guided with music or sitting and meditating in silence?
Yes. So for Vedic meditation, so there's different categories that different meditations fall under. So contemplative technique meditations are where you're contemplating something, you're working towards being more grateful or gratitude or kindness. There's certain things you're working on towards that way. Those are called contemplation technique meditations.
Sorry, when you said contemplation meditations, we're around the same age, I would imagine. And did raise your hand here and out there if any one of your parents, my dad comes to mind. I'm annoying the crap out of them, asking too many questions because that's what I do. And the answer I got back was, "Why don't you go contemplate your navel?" Right? So I'm so sorry. I just had to get that off my mind.
Oh, for sure.
All right, which is not a bad thing to do, contemplate your own navel. But anyway, so contemplation practice, you go right ahead.
Yes, no problem. And then there's concentration technique meditations where you're focused on something, you're following something specifically, like a breath, or you're breathing, or you're concentrating on or focusing on some guided, that would where the guided meditations would fall under, would be that category. And so a lot of the meditations fall under those two categories. In Vedic meditation, in this practice that I teach, it's a separate category than those. And in Vedic meditation, we use a mantra. Man means mind, tra means vehicle. And we use this mantra to go beyond thought it's an eyes closed technique. So we close our eyes and we sit in a chair and we gently think the mantra from the inside. It's a very simple and natural technique that way. But we use a specific type of mantra because there's many different mantras out there, and some are said out loud, some have meaning, some are not internal, like this one is. We do it from the inside, and it's called a bija mantra. Mm-hmm. Bija means seed, and it's used from the inside. And when we teach somebody this practice, we give them their personalized bija mantra. As a Vedic meditation teacher, I was trained on which person gets which mantra that would resonate with them, their personality. It's a vibratory sound that has no meaning, this mantra. There's no meaning to it. It's a vibratory sound that we gently think from the inside. And so when I teach somebody this, there's lots and lots of mantras. I was trained to give a specific mantra to a specific person that would resonate with them personally, and then they would learn how to use that mantra in that 4-day course, but it's 90 minutes a day, so it's not all day. So that 4-day course, 90 minutes a day, they would get their personalized bija mantra and the technique of how to use it. And it's only done in person, this training, because that's how this has always been taught. It's always been in person. In the same way, we keep it very pure to the way it was taught thousands of years ago.
I love that. So you're connecting a lot of dots because through the yoga instruction, my personal business, Custom Design Wellness, customizes pathways for people's energetic, emotional, spiritual growth, right? So I offer Reiki, yoga instruction, sculpting, toning, discussion. In that, the lens is chakras for me, right? And so each chakra, when I do workshops, for example, whether they're financial workshops, corporate workshops, yoga workshops, each chakra has a bija mantra. And so it is a very resonant tone, but there is a meaning in terms of what I connect to. The root chakra has one, the sacral chakra has one. So to the untrained ear, like a lam lam, that might not mean anything LAM to anybody, but I know it's associated with a chakra. So I would imagine choosing a mantra for the person must be kind of challenging because in order to meditate on that sound, it can't really have any other connections to something known, I would imagine. Is that true or?
It's exactly it, but it makes it actually easier and simpler. Because when we close our eyes and we gently think the mantra, and that vibratory sound that has no meaning, we're not associating with anything, it's resonating with us. And as we're closing our eyes and thinking the mantra, our mind follows it down. And as it follows it down, it gets fainter, vaguer, subtler, and as the mind is it becomes so charming to the mind. So as it gets fainter, softer, vaguer, subtler, it's so beautiful to the mind, and the charm increases as it's going down to this deep state that we have, our least excited state, deep within us all. It gives us access to that. And when it follows it down, because the mind will always go to greater charm. And it's so resonant to the mind that it's following it. And it gets charmer and charmer that way.
Yeah, I've never heard that phrase, a mind charm. Is there a way to describe that?
Yes, charm is a natural following, a natural resonance. It's like it feels good to that. Your mind is kind of going towards that. It's just a resonant feeling good of it feels good for the mind to follow that. It's like, so for an example, so we talked about the mind will always go towards greater happiness. So if I'm hearing I'm doing whatever I'm doing.
Can you just repeat that so everyone out there can hear? What does our mind naturally want to do?
Our mind naturally wants to go towards greater happiness.
And how do you know that?
Because if I'm doing something here, I'm doing something, and an example of that is if I'm doing something here and I'm working on something and I hear some beautiful music in the background, right? My mind, I'm not thinking, oh, music's beautiful, go there. My mind will just naturally follow that beautiful music. I'm not intentionally doing that. So that's an example of that resonant, how beautiful that mantra is to the mind. It's following it down and down to that deeper state within us. So yes, go ahead.
I have another question.
Larry, no,
This is why I do this, Jason.
This is great. Love questions.
Okay. I love that's how your mind works. And I'm gonna challenge you a bit in the way people challenge me. Okay. I take for granted, and I hear this all the time from my students, I don't realize how strong I am when I'm teaching class. So to me, whatever I'm offering, demonstrating to the level of the class is not challenging to me. It's challenging to other people, right? So I take for granted, I rely on my training and how my body moves. And I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm just like, this makes sense. This is how we go. And what I hear you saying is, this is how your mind works. But I wanted you to repeat your statement about our mind chooses the more beautiful path. And the challenge is, I'm not sure people out there would believe it because they themselves cannot imagine a life like that because they're walking around living with thinking is creating, right? Their whole entire life. And there's a lot of people, the negative Nellies, the Debbie Downers, whatever, who cannot get over that hump of, what do you mean my mind is supposed to always default to happiness? I feel like shit. So I don't believe you, Mr. Gember. Prove me wrong, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Okay.
And yes, there's all of those things you just said. Absolutely.
Because when you're working and there's music that comes on, depending on the music, my mind might say like, turn that shit off, or wow, that's really beautiful.
Right. So it's either attraction or distraction, right?
Right.
Distraction one way or the other. So
right, and the key, of course, with our practice is to not identify an emotion around the event. So music is happening.
Right.
How I choose to identify what the music is doing to me is my lens and my story.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So the mind follows it down to that deep state of supreme intercontentedness or being that we have within us. And as it touches on that, where it gets to a place where there's no mantra, no thought. And in that place is very restful. It's very restful in that state of being in this practice of meditation. And because the mind and the body are at a restful state, stresses are able to be released out of the mind and body and dissolved. And that frees up many things in a person's life. Stresses from a lifetime of stresses that are in our system, and there's stresses that we bring in every day in our system, or demands that are put on us, and those are stored in our nervous system.
So, like theta state, right? So the real and the woo part of the show is we're talking about some stuff, which is Vedic meditation. But there's science to back all the things you're talking about. Stress reduction, more aligned living. When we get in a state of being able to notice our thoughts and not judging the thoughts, which is hard, that is a beautiful state of mind. And it does create a beautiful state within the body. So when you started this practice for yourself, giving what you do, and we'll get to that in a few moments also, did you feel compelled to look for the science to back it up, or you just trusted right out of the box this was like the thing for you and you knew it was going to work?
I trusted. Curiosity brought me to it, and I tried it. And from the direct experience of the meditation, that did not take long for me to feel that direct experience of all the benefits of it, enough for me to keep going. So I had a history of lots of anxiety and stress in my life, a lot of thinking. I would think a lot in the past and a lot in the future. And those two places I was in a lot with my time and energy. Now, I didn't know any different. That was just how things were for me. I would spend a lot of time in those areas. And then that's when I started experimenting with things. And it was just a natural thing. There wasn't a ton of thought put into it. It was just a curiosity. It was more of a curiosity that brought me to Vedic meditation. I was curious of what I was hearing from the intro talks, and I thought I would just give it a try. It's from when I started doing this practice that I gained the experience from the direct experience of it, and I felt that soon after I started practicing it. So then there's a contrast, right? So then I start seeing the contrast of always thinking in the past, always thinking in the future, which consumed my life. And I started seeing a contrast to, as I was growing in my meditation practice, to what things were like before. So that's where the direct experience grows. And I feel all the benefits growing, and personally and professionally.
All right. So 2 questions then. Was there a precipitating event you'd like to share that got you curious about? It sounds to me like you were recognizing you were not in the present moment. You were living in the past or going towards the future, which is normal human behavior. And whatever practice we can get to, for me, it's yoga, meditation, breath work, balancing chakras. Did somebody say, hey, you're too stressed, or I know you've been married for a long time. Did your spouse have, and so what happened that brought you to that curiosity in the first place?
I just didn't like the feeling that I was those states, that I was in those states, and it was just the anxiety that I was in from those states was just uncomfortable. And a lot of time and energy in my life was consumed by that. So just this knowing that's happening, but not necessarily thinking of ways I can help it. It was just how it was. And then it was just, like, for instance, I would have to give a presentation on something. I would be days way before that presentation thinking about that presentation and speculating on all the things that could happen in that presentation I was going to do. A lot of speculating in that past and that future. A lot of speculating of what things could happen, are going to happen. And that was just how things were with me. And that's how that was. So when I was in those states, it was very consuming. And that caused anxiety in my life for many, many things. And then I would have stress reactions also. So I would be as I get into that circular thinking and that circular anxiety that's happening within myself, that's growing and growing. So then things that can happen is just naturally, you think as that's growing, you can have stress reactions to things that are demands that are put on you, or a change of expectation of whatever kind that is. I'm expecting one thing to happen, something different happens, and then I'm reacting to that. And it's not the reaction, the stress reaction, that my body would go into, fight flight mode, but it's the staying stressed that would last long periods of time for me. It's not the stress reaction, now it's done. So then once I started Vedic meditation, that's another contrast I would see. So now I'm able to, as I'm getting the stresses out of my mind and body, I'm able to, instead of reacting to the stresses, because now my mind and body is getting rid of the stresses in my system, I'm able to creatively adapt to the stresses in a creative more way, a more adaptable way, instead of reacting to it and then staying in that reactive state for long periods of time.
Okay. You said speculating. I just wrote a few blogs about the state of mind, right? So I've coined this past and forward thinking mentality as scenario scrolling, right? So it's like when we're looking on our phones, people are coining that doom scrolling. Often when you're scrolling on your phone and you start putting yourself in a less than category, that's the doom scroll. The other, polarity with that is the egotistical part of it. Well, I'm better than those people. But the fact that we're whirling our minds up in scenarios of, well, if this happens, then I'm going to do that. Or what if that doesn't happen, then I'll react this way, right? So we're always putting ourselves out of balance for what is actually going to be happening. And 85% of the time, if I'm gearing up for some conversation where I think it might not go so well, it never goes the way my mind made up anyway. And it was just a lot of wasted time, right? And then what you're connecting is that time spent in our minds affects our internal systems, fight or flight, the adrenals, we get burned out, we're reactive in ways we might not have been initially. So I call that a brittle sponge person, because they're walking around so tightly wound that whatever little stimulus comes at them like a dry sponge, they're going to react, right? Whereas if you're in this state of flow and fluidity, because you can catch yourself falling into those categories of before or what's going to happen, then when the stimulus comes, you're better able to handle it in a more aligned way. I'm fascinated that you were basically recognizing you were in a state of suffering, like we described in this wellness space, because you weren't experiencing your life in the present moment. And unlike a lot of people, when they're uncomfortable, because the body seeks pleasure and avoids pain, right? They look to drugs or the bottle or some other vice, hoarding or overbuying or whatever it is. And your intuition kicked in and said, I think I'm going to learn how to meditate. I mean, that's fascinating to me. I mean, good for you. What a testament. While you're talking, so you also are a PE teacher. So I have a lot of love in my heart for you out of the gate, because I loved all of my PE teachers, first of all. When we moved here where we live, I've got 4 kids, and I saw our school district lose daily PE. So my eldest had it, and then little by little it was stripped away, and I advocated with the state, with the school board. I did all the research on the connection between ADD alone and our over-reliance on those drugs. Obviously, if a child needs it, a child needs it. But there's a lot of kids who just need to frickin' move their bodies. And thank God we had some teachers who would close their doors and go against district policy and let the kids do jumping jacks and stand on chairs and do whatever they needed to do in that classroom to get those children to learn. But mostly it's because they were forced to sit like little soldiers without a way to de-stress and unleash and let go. And so these districts that are taking away PE, there is science to back the value of it. So I'd love to know, in your 23 years of being a physical education teacher, if you'd like to sort of hop on that bandwagon and talk about, obviously, the benefits, but not only that, but because you're also a Vedic practitioner of meditation, and that's why I kind of asked about the science, because if you wanted to bring this into your district, and you have or not, you've got to back it up, because the school board isn't going to say, okay, Mr. Gember, we get you. Yeah, go ahead and make this class happen. They want evidence, right? Because they've got stakeholders in the game. So I threw a lot at you just then. So why don't you just figure out how you want to answer that?
So being a PE teacher, yes, I've been a PE teacher for 23 years. I love it. I teach the young ones. So I teach kindergarten through fifth graders, which is just wonderful, because the best part of my job is they're excited about movement. They're excited about games that we do and different activities, and making fitness and activities fun at that age is so important, because whatever way that they find that they want to move their bodies and they can discover of how they're going to do that is great, because not everybody's going to be a basketball star or a baseball star or whatever that is. So in our programs that we do in our district, we've always taken pride with giving them a wide variety of different activities to do and change things up in so many different ways. So we're hitting on many aspects of movement and joy and fun with activity. And it's not just about competition and certain core sports. It's about bowling. It's about climbing wall. It's about human heart obstacle course, where you integrate, a heart in your movement and find out about the different parts of the heart that way. So, and I love that. And it's also the social emotional aspect of my job that I love too, because working in teams, working with individuals, working with each other in different ways, and putting kids in different situations with that, and team building and different activities, that is so great to see the progress and how they grow. And then another advantage I have is I have them through kindergarten through fifth grade. So I'll have the same students a lot of the times through all of their elementary experiences, and I get to really know the kids on different levels as they're growing throughout, not just one grade, but many, many grades.
And does your district have daily PE or twice a day recess or anything?
We actually just recently went from 2 days a week PE to 3 days. So yes, we're moving in the right direction though.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that ends up going. But right now we have 3 days a week, which is definitely a big increase from the 2 days a week, which we had last time. So we're very happy about that.
Yeah.
They're getting an extra day of gym, and they have daily recess on top of it. So they still get movement in there.
We used to have morning recess, like before school started. Bell would ring, we'd go into school, gym every day, recess at lunch. And I think about, I grew up in St. Louis. I think about, we must not have smelled very good too to some of these teachers, because you're playing like a maniac outside, and kickball and foursquare and monkey bars and the whole thing. So yeah, it was a magic time. We had full gym units in grade school with like actual gymnastics equipment, balance beams and parallel bars, and like the one bar, the cherry drop we'd all do, hanging by your knees, and then you land on your feet. Yeah. So in your district, in the age group that you guide, then are you teaching them any sorts of meditative practices, like before, after school, or during PE?
I have not. I shouldn't say I have not. I have in the past. I have not as of recent. In Vedic meditation, specifically our meditation that we teach, one of the parents would have to be a learn Vedic meditation before a child could. And so I'm starting more. I'm not starting with the parents and the community and teachers. That's where I'm starting. And then it will trickle down to the children that way. So I'm starting with PTA, community, parents, administration, teachers. I'm doing wellness fairs in school districts. I'm giving talks in school districts, like I said. That's where I'm starting. And it will go down to the kids at some point, but not starting with the kids with Vedic meditation. Now, I've done other meditations with them. Before I learned to be a Vedic meditation teacher, I did guided meditations and different things with them in the past. We do yoga poses, different yoga poses and things like that, in stations and fitness stations like that. We do those kind of things. But as far as what I'm teaching currently, that's starting, that's where that's going.
And so have you been getting success from your own district or PTAs or organizations, or are they thinking that it's too woo-woo or religious based actually comes up? I know even with yoga, I have to remind people it's not a religion. I mean, it is to me, but
That's,
mindfulness is a religion.
that's exactly what I say. It's a technique. It's not a religion. It's a technique to whatever you're practicing, whether it's religion or whatever it is. It's an add-on to that, and it can enhance your personal and professional life in many different ways. But it's not taken away from anything. It's not a religious practice. It's a technique of meditation that I'm teaching. So yeah, so right now we're in the process of giving people the information. Like I said, with those intro talks, those are what I'm giving. I'm giving those to as many people in the education system as I can. And it's nice because I am a teacher, so I can I'm a Vedic meditation teacher and I'm a public school teacher. So I can connect in so many different ways and give them so many specific things of scenarios and different things we have as teachers, right? All these things we were talking about earlier that can be applied to the educational system. So I'm excited that I'm having opportunities to share that at this point, and we'll see where that goes.
I mean, I'm behind you 100%. One of the brands I have for my business is we do come with instructions, which is workshops I design for niche groups, one of whom is teachers, right? Because my whole goal is to get teachers in a room to discuss their internal systems, the chakras, in ways they can understand, because they're on the firing line, unfortunately, God forbid, literally, but figuratively too, like especially new teachers, just out of the box. It's their first parent-teacher conference, and now they're sitting across the table, and this teacher has to say, well, little Janie or little Johnny actually isn't doing so well, and here's why. And then the parents, of course, may push back. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know my kid, blah, blah, blah. Or they crumple into a ball, and now the teacher has to become like, quote unquote, their parent. So helping teachers find their center, their own solid base of mattering no matter what, is what I do. And when they come into those situations, how do they learn to talk to parents? How do they learn to talk to kids? And how do they learn to talk to parents about their kids, right? And so if they don't have a base of security and understanding and have their emotions in check and so forth and so on up the chain, they're not going to be effective in their role as they might be otherwise. And so supporting our teachers with energetic wellness and mindfulness practices is so important, because they see our kids more than we do during the school year, right? Coaches too. And so, yeah, there's a whole big world out there that can use our help in how we do it, right? And your road is Vedic meditation. My road is energetic wellness and chakras and Reiki and the whole thing. You have another road that I'd like to discuss that I'm not sure your school children might know about you. Maybe they do. You're a ballroom dancer.
Yes, I am. And they actually know, because I've taught ballroom dance to my students.
I love it. I was hoping you were going to say that when I brought it up. So how did you get into that, sir?
So 13 years now we've been doing that. I actually went out and bought a gift certificate for my wife and for Valentine's Day to go to a studio. And I thought, well, that would be nice, a nice shared experience to do together. We can do this. And then we never ended up using it. And then we saw the studio at a performance that actually our daughter, down the line, our daughter was in band, and they had some dancers dancing to the band music. And that happened to be the same studio that I had this gift certificate that was getting dusty. We just never used. So they got us up and dancing, actually, the studio, some of the professional dancers, my wife and I, like, oh, you guys are pretty good dancers. And I said, well, I have this gift certificate that we've never used. Can I use this? And that was the start of it. We went into the studio and took our first lesson, and we fell in love with it. And it just brought so much joy to both of us doing this together and sharing that. And then it's a whole other world that I was in, and we just gradually became more and more interested. We started doing competitions and different performances. And for me, I was always in sports, but that's a team aspect. So I had others around me. Now it's more, okay, it's just my wife and I up on stage by ourselves. That's another way of performing. So that's the whole journey for me, that way of performing and dance and expression through that.
Love it. Are you competing this year?
Yes, we're looking to do one in October coming up.
Good luck. That's amazing.
Thank you.
My husband and I were somewhere, and I can't think of where we were, on some vacation, and there was a ballroom dance competition going on in the hotel. And the people getting on and off the elevator, the costumes, I mean, you got to be kidding me. It was hilarious fun to just see like the same woman in 3 different costumes. And it was great. How many wardrobe changes do you have in a typical competition weekend?
Well, we'll do rhythm and then we'll do a smooth. So we have 2 different dresses that my wife has. Like the rhythm dances and one for the smooth. And so we'll have one day of one and then one day of the other. And we'll do 30 to 40 dances in a competition. So it'll split up that way. And yeah, so it's great. But yeah, she has the dresses and the whole makeup and all that. And yeah, so it's
Does she
great.
like get into the hair extensions too? Like I've seen some of these dancers, like their hairstyle, it's like as flamboyant as their costume. It's fascinating.
Yeah, some don't. My wife, so she does stuff with her hair, but it's just her natural hair.
Yeah.
She doesn't use her extensions, but there's all kinds of different ways that everybody feels that they want to express themselves and do that. So it's all good. Yeah.
I love that. All right, Jason, in this moment, what is bringing you joy?
In this moment, bringing me joy is teaching others Vedic meditation. Or just talking about meditation. So doing what I'm doing now, and then doing my intro talks to groups of people or individuals, and then teaching people if they decide they want to learn. Those are bringing me joy right now as far as that and my family and my wife and my daughter. And my daughter just got engaged, so that brings me joy too. That whole process of our one daughter getting engaged and the process of
Well,
that.
congratulations. So, yeah. That's great. We had a wedding in our family too, so it's fun. All right, I wanted to touch on one more thing that you had sent me in your intro bio thingy, thank you, about sitting on a mountaintop for 3 months. So you had said you went to the Himalayas to study. And so when was that? How did you find your way there? And were you alone?
So the process started with me gaining all the benefits I gained from my own practice of Vedic meditation. I wanted to be able to share this with others. So that's where that started. That started growing in me, wanting to share, because I'm a public school teacher and naturally I want to share this, right? So the only way to do that was to go to the 3 months in the base of the Himalayan mountains and do that. So the first person after this thought grew and grew within me, first person I went to is my wife and said, "Oh, honey, this is really what I really want to do is leave for 3 months. How are you with this?" And she was very supportive. So that's the first person I went to. After that, and she gave me all her support and love, the second people I went to were my school district, because it's only in January. You don't want to be in India in the middle of their summer, so that's more of their fall, winter. So that's why they always have it in January for 3 months. And so I wrote up this whole thing for my school district and said, "Can I take this leave for 3 months? These are all the ways that Vedic meditation has helped me personally and professionally as a teacher." And so they approved me for that. So that next thing lined up. And then the process of all the different courses and prerequisites I had to take to do this all was lining up, and I was doing all that. And then I was able to go in the base of the Himalaya Mountains with 23 other people from around the world.
Wow.
Signed up for this. The course is under Tom Knowles, which is the gold standard for Vedic meditation. He's a very well-known master in India in Vedic meditation. And he runs this course exactly like for teachers, exactly how he learned and how it has been always done in the past. So he keeps it very true that way. And it was just the whole thing was just an amazing experience that I had in this whole process, and really prepares us teachers to understand exactly how this is taught and teach it the best way for people to learn.
And when was this?
This is January of 2023. So it's been 2 years.
That's amazing. So you're still sort of fresh from there.
Fresh from there. But it's felt so prepared after that training that I just jumped right into it and started teaching and giving these intro talks and teaching people. It's been
Have you had your human design chart read?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I'm asking because I know nothing about it except the one time I had my chart read and it gave me I'm an emotional projector. And sorry, human design people, I'm either a 6-4 or a 4-6. I can't remember the order of things, but those are like the gates. And basically, I'm wondering because I was always meant to be a teacher also. And the type of teacher that I am at this age and stage is sage, in terms of we want to take the wealth of experience that we've amassed in our lives up to now and teach from that deep well. So it's a combo of the book smarts, the street smarts, the life experience, and the training, and put it all together in a nice package called "This is what I present to you" sort of things. And we can't help it. It's in our DNA. It's what we're here to do. And so I would bet you're like that. You ooze the desire to want to make people feel better, right? And we connect in that way. How we get people to feel better might be different, but the mission is the same, right? So it's wonderful. And in that way then, so why don't you tell my listeners how they can find you if they're interested in learning more about the practice or working with you on their own?
So my website is jasongembermeditation.com. So you can go to my website and you click on contact me for an intro talk. That would be the first step. And I would get more in-depth than I was here. I just kind of did an overview. I would get into more specifics of what exactly Vedic meditation entails, how it works, and all the information about Vedic meditation. So whoever is interested, if there's just a curiosity, and that's what brought me to Vedic meditation. There's a curiosity. The only thing that's required is a curiosity and a willingness to follow a very few simple things. Follow a few simple directions. That's all the two things that are required for this practice. So if they have either of those two, or both of those two actually, then they can click on that button, the intro talk button. And I do intro talks either online or in person. And I would tell them all the information about it so they can make an educated decision for themselves whether this is something for them or not. So that's it. And I have an Instagram, Jason Gember, @JasonGember on Instagram. And then I have the website, and I'm increasing my social media.
Are you on the TikTok yet, Jason?
Oh, no, I know. I just did Facebook, Instagram, and website. Yeah. And those are big for me because for that, I was non-existent in all of this.
Yeah. Are you making reels on the Instagram or just posts?
Not yet. I'm just still figuring out how to use it.
You could ask maybe your 5th grader.
Yes, I know. Actually, I definitely can use my students' help on the Sure.
Our kids know way more than we do. And so in that way, it's been so nice to get to know more about what you do and your craft and your passion with your years and years of physical education, teaching, and your ballroom dancing, your long-standing marriage, and your commitment to wellness that starts with yourself. And when you know how that works for you, you're able to help others.
Well, I appreciate being so open and to having all kinds of beautiful people on your podcast and sharing.
It's fun. It's fun for me. It is my joy, which is why I have that break for Joy on the Fives, because I want to remind people they're allowed to build more joy in their life, experience more joy, right? And it's kind of what we were saying, what I was bringing up to you about your mind. You know, a lot of people don't even remember that joy and love are the highest vibrations. And we are born with the easy road, right? We come in open to love and joy. And then life teaches us other lessons. And that's the work I do with people, is to help them unwind those stories, unwind those lessons, see what's truly yours to keep, or what you'd like to rewrite to align with where you are now or where you'd like to go. We just forget because of where we're raised or how we're raised and all of the things that life brings to us, right? Life happens for us. And so it's just a nice way to remind people there is help for getting ourselves out of our own way. And I do it my way and you do it your way. And there's lots of ways. And that's the first key, is to know you might not be feeling so great, and get curious, like you said, about how to find ways to make yourself feel better that are healthy and productive and that you can maintain for your life.
For sure. Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Coach Gember. And have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.